welcome to Armchair Quarterback. Patriots coming off a bye week, a much-deserved bye week after a beatdown of the Denver Broncos. Rich Brockway apparently on a bye week this week. He something to do with the kids getting into college.
Is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a row?
No, he was here last week.
Well, but he had 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Right,
Brian Kelly.
Right,
Brian Kelly came off the bench.
How could I forget?
And then a couple weeks before that, he was here with Chris Delaney.
Right.
So we always have. It was just kind of a late call to fill the vacant seat there. So it's just going to be a Phil and Pete show, I guess.
Intimate show tonight.
Pete running away with the league right now, a 3 for 3 against the spread, and starting to increase his lead here a little bit.
Well, you're playing possum with me, Phil, because if anybody can come back, it's you and Rich Brockway. But we got a long way to go. But last week, the picks were kind of clicking. I was worried about Arizona, covering the spread because they were losing, and then they kind of pulled away a couple defensive touchdowns.
Yeah, and it's funny because they lose Carson Palmer for the season in this one, so kind of a tough break after he had battled back from injuries. But we've seen in the past. Is it Drew
Pearson?
No, Drew.
I know it'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to us during the show. But he.
Sorry, I can't give you the assist there. I should.
But he will be taking over for Carson Palmer this week. So
he looked pretty good in that long pass. I think his name is Josh Smith.
John Brown.
John Brown, man,
big play and the dancing, and then
nice dance.
And when it came right down to it, the Arizona defense really got it going. At two defensive touchdowns to wrap this thing up. And Arizona right now, the best team in the league.
Well, that hurts. I think there's definitely a drop at quarterback because Carson Palmer. I kind of wrote him off a couple years ago, but it seemed like he was like almost all the way back to like being at the top of his career, at the best place he could be. At the top of his career, and that team clicking, like a lot of people calling him the best team in football. So, tough break for Carson Palmer because he is a likable guy. He's never been a knucklehead. He's never complained.
No, and then he goes out. That when he had that big knee injury, the ACL injury against, he played for the Bengals in the playoff game. Right. One of those devastating ACL, MCL, the whole package. Winds up out in Oakland.
Right.
No complaining out there. If you're going to complain being a quarterback for a certain team, it's probably going to be the Raiders.
Right. So
for
too
sure,
bad. You feel bad for a guy like that that's worked, and like who knows how many times he's going to have a team that's kind of hot and he's healthy. So
so it's a tough break for Arizona, but the defense really picked them up.
Right.
And Arizona moves to 8-1 now.
And I don't think he's that much of a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, key guy on the team. There's a lot of good receivers. Larry Fitzgerald's coming on. The running back Ellington's playing well. The defense is playing well. So maybe Drew, whatever his last name is, can get in there and just be good enough. And look, Tom Brady. Sometimes guys just need a chance.
Yeah, and that's also it's a tough division, obviously. With the 49ers get a big win this week on the road in New Orleans.
Right.
And then you get Seattle in the mix too. Seattle, the defending champions, have not looked.
Am I looking at this thing right without my glasses? Is New Orleans in first place?
New Orleans is in first place with a record of 4-5.
Right, because I know they had a big loss this week, and I'm like, I don't read the paper anymore. I look online once in a while, but I used to read the paper and look at the stats. I knew every stat. Now it's just like, New Orleans, aren't they struggling fourth place?
It's tough because they have not looked good, their defense especially, but that was actually a pretty big controversial play at the end of the game involving Jimmy Graham, and it looked like he did push
a little
off.
push. He's a big guy.
Yeah, and there's and
maybe
also
the guy hammed it up a little bit.
There was a little degree of acting on the San Francisco part, but I think they did make the right call.
Yeah. So
that was.
It's either way, someone's going to complain. But no, it was a good game. It was a good game, and it was too bad because that looked like beautiful Hail Mary there for a second
to end the game.
Right.
But it did not work out that way. The 49ers win in overtime. But if you look at it though, the 49ers really could not afford to lose that game. Now looking at the Saints and the way that Carolina played on Monday Night Football. Carolina.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, they looked like the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football.
I don't know if anybody looks like the Bears right now. The Jets.
The Jets, and that's probably one of the week's biggest surprises. The trap game of the week, I jump on it, I fall right into the trap. Pittsburgh.
Yep. Of all the teams.
Steelers let me down.
I know, I was like, I remember saying this.
That's what the Steelers do.
Once a year you pick them and they do that to you. That's why you love them.
Yeah, so I mean, the Steelers, you look back at what Roethlisberger's done over the last 2 weeks, the 12 touchdown passes in 2 weeks.
Came back to earth.
Came back to earth big time, and the Jets get a win going into the bye week. Not that they're going to start their engines, but
yeah, we were talking about this guy trading Rodgers. Well, the guy that traded him had Roethlisberger, so he thought Roethlisberger was going to throw 6 touchdowns every week. But really, Aaron Rodgers, Roethlisberger, both great. I mean, Roethlisberger, nothing against him. He's got his 2 titles, but right now, Aaron Rodgers
is the man.
He's sizzling.
And again, Green Bay this week, everyone looks good against the Bears, and the Bears, they give up 50 to the
Big
Patriots.
problems over there.
They come back after the bye week, they give up another 50.
Yeah.
They're
almost like they're not even competing.
No, and they have problems from all directions on this one.
Lovey's got to be gone.
Marshall, Brandon Marshall talking again.
Brandon Marshall, of
we
course.
got some problems. I go, you're 3-6, and you gave up over 100 points. You got problems.
Yeah, there's and on paper they look like a good team. They got terrible defense.
Yeah,
but it's almost like sometimes, Brandon Marshall, as good as he is, and they do a football life. Brandon Marshall, the guy's still playing. He got to be pretty good, right?
I know. Yeah.
But sometimes he just stands in his own light. He can't not be a knucklehead.
He can't. He says the wrong thing at the wrong time.
A little Terrell Owens sometimes.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. Just play the game. You're great. You don't have to, call people out and do some of the kind of ridiculous antics.
Right, and I guess some stories coming out this week on the same lines with Des Bryant.
Another guy who we've talked
Dallas
about.
Cowboys not really following curfew over in their London trip. Des Bryant, apparently stories coming out, needed to have his car broken into because there's a sleeping infant in that locked car at his house. So developing stories with the Cowboys where there's, the fun never ends down in Jerry World.
He's another great player that's just, I don't know, they're above the law. It's almost disrespectful to the game and to the people, the fans and the kids that look up to these guys. Some of them, they just want to play by their own rules, I guess.
Yeah, I guess when you make that much money and you've been pampered your entire life, it's like you just, no one tells you no. Generally, sometimes the coach is pretty much a puppet there, I think, in Dallas.
Yeah,
but and it's the Jerry Jones show. But Romo plays with a couple broken bones in his back, I guess.
Yeah.
And they laid up the Jacksonville Jaguars in London this.
Although they made a little comeback, the Jags. I was thinking, I know Rich had. I remember him going. It's a crazy pick. The Jaguars.
Yeah. He just goes. This is probably a bad pick too, but yeah, he kind of went down the tubes on his underdog picks this week. We'll get more into the standings.
He's going to bounce back.
Yeah, he's submitted his picks.
There's no quitting that dog.
No. He's going to sit at that typewriter.
All right. He's going to spell a word sooner or later.
In one of his favorite teams that he did not take this past week, but I'm not going to give it away, but he's been very high on the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
And
he even got me to take him a couple weeks ago.
They looked.
Did they look good or did Cincy look bad?
Combination of both, I think.
Cincinnati looked terrible.
Cincinnati, and I don't know what Andy Dalton is not a primetime player. He cannot play in the playoffs.
Not
he
when
cannot
you,
play
not,
in
not when you can play
primetime
that
games.
bad on one night. He was awful.
Yeah,
the whole team was awful.
Yeah.
And you think they're a contender going in. That's why they're not. They're like a 500 team. And not taken away from the Browns, but the Browns, like, there was no contest.
Yeah.
Every phase of the game.
Yeah. The Browns really, Hoyer, Johnny Football, I don't think is going to see the field unless there's an injury. Because
Really?
Hoyer is playing very under control.
It'll be interesting to see
cool
if he does get a chance. Like, say they have a game, a playoff game, and
Hoyer goes down.
Hoyer goes down in the first quarter, and it's up to Johnny. Could be a dramatic.
It'd be an interesting
appearance
scenario
for him, yeah,
for
like
sure.
he could be put in a
But
key situation.
Cleveland Browns actually leading this division at 6-3.
They looked pretty good. I mean, they got like a triple-headed running back.
Yeah.
And like you say, he's managing the game. He's not trying to, be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. He's throwing when he has to, and he's got the running backs. 3 guys.
They got Tate. They got Crowell.
And
West.
Terrence West.
Yeah,
so then they've all had
all 3 of them
turns.
scored touchdowns in this game as well.
So a 3-headed running back. Hoyer playing well. Interesting receivers. No big names, but different guys stepping up. So you never know.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not that they're a dark horse, maybe a couple of years away.
Kind of a likable team.
But yeah, they've been down for so long.
Right. You got to root for teams like that.
Yeah. A team that pulled one out this is one where with Buffalo Bills, they really were in a good spot to win this game.
Yeah.
And they let it slip away. I mean, they could have been in contention, which is setting up a huge game this week with the Dolphins and the Bills on Thursday night.
Thursday night, yeah.
Should be a big matchup. The Patriots actually gained ground this week on a bye week, as the Dolphins let it slip away as
Except
well.
for the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets aren't really a concern, I think, at 2-7.
They looked pretty good, though. How do they do that?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, but I think the Steelers look bad. And the Steelers maybe
The Steelers, they looked so bad to start the year, and then they looked like El Fuego, and then back to the Jets.
So that's
Inconsistent, I guess.
Yeah, they're just not a consistent team. The Dolphins actually were in a good spot against Detroit this week, and I figured with Detroit, with Bush coming back, Megatron coming back, that Detroit might be in a good spot to to lay Miami out. Detroit had a rally to pull this one out.
Right.
Big touchdown to Riddick at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Stafford pulls it out for them.
Yeah, they didn't. It was an interesting game down to the wire. It did look like Miami was going to squeak it out, but Riddick, Detroit. Hey, give him credit. Stafford, he's pretty clutch. It was a nice throw too.
Yeah, it was.
Kinda had an awkward angle, but he's got a cannon, that guy.
Right, yeah, he kind of side-armed it in there for the touchdown. And believe it or not, Detroit Lions at 7-2, leading that division.
7-2. Really? Where have I been?
It's surprising, and I think this has getting rid of Schwartzy. I think
for sure
may have been the best thing that they've ever done. We've been down on this guy for years, and then the Buffalo they carry him off the field.
No, he asked.
He asked to be carried off.
He asked to be. Can you imagine a coach on the side? Hey, carry me off the field. You're a player, right?
Do you have to do that? I mean, I remember back in the day where
how about no? Carry yourself off the field. That's pretty sad.
Was it Golden Tate who just goes, that's one of the most disgraceful things he's ever seen.
A pathetic human. Only a pathetic human would do that. Really.
I mean, the players would carry him off if it warranted it. Which
I'm not a head coach anymore. He just needed that. He just needed that little thrill.
That little ego boost.
That little, what do they call it when they crowd surf? He wanted to be carried off the field like all the players pass him.
Like a Pearl Jam concert, you jump off the stage and stage diving.
They should fire a guy for asking to be carried off the field like that.
And he's actually a defensive coordinator with Buffalo.
Right. Guy continues to be a knucklehead. What can you say? It's not just confined to players.
Yeah. No, coaches are knuckleheads too.
Yeah.
Now Seattle Seahawks finally finish a game in Seattle Seahawk fashion.
Yeah.
But they battled for a while. I mean, this game was 17-17 late in this game. Yeah. Giants hung in there.
Marshawn Lynch took over. Beast mode took over.
Beast mode, the Skittles, whatever you want to call it. 4 touchdowns, huge day for Marshawn
Russell
Lynch.
Wilson, they run. There's no one on the team catches more than 2 or 3 passes.
Yeah.
Because it's beast mode. Russell Wilson running it. Short little passing game. So, but it works. Yeah. The D's, they haven't been dominant. Like last year down the stretch, they were like
they were crushing.
There was
no doubt when they were in their home stadium.
They haven't been that same kind of dominant team, but still a team to be reckoned with, I think.
Yeah, for sure. The defense.
Any given Sunday, they could beat anybody.
Sure. The defense has not stepped up certainly as they were.
I'm sure Denver remembers.
No question.
Right?
No,
just in case Denver thinks they're good.
Yeah. Yeah. And Denver this week has no problem out in Oakland, as you probably would expect. They go to town. And I don't know if you saw the videotape where there was a turnover late in this game, and Denver is up at this point, I think 41-10. There's a quick turnover, like just seconds left in the maybe early stages of fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, and the backup quarterback grabs his helmet. He thinks he's going to the game. Peyton already has his helmet on in the game. The reaction is priceless if you have a chance to see it.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that.
It's just hilarious.
Peyton wouldn't come out?
Peyton would not come out. But eventually he did come out because I think they had it like sitting
down. Did he have
down.
the wrong helmet and it wouldn't fit?
like this guy behind us.
There you go.
That's now the Andrew Luck doll. So
we won't beat him up too much.
No, but
he's already taken a beating. But when he was Peyton.
Oh, absolutely. We beat him up pretty good.
Yeah.
But the Denver Broncos win this one easily, and not a surprise there.
No, Oakland's just horrible, really. I mean, another team almost like the Bears. You can see it on the players' face. Is the game over yet? It's like 52-10.
Yeah, I mean, Oakland now at 0-9.
They have a slaughter rule or anything? Mercy rule.
I mean, that could have been called a couple times in some of these games this past week. But
yeah, teams are starting. There's that handful of teams that really are sticking out. Like
It's funny though. If you look at some of the records though, it's still very competitive. Even though like you look at like Baltimore Ravens, a team at 6-4 in last place.
Right.
You go over to the NFC South, you got the New Orleans Saints at 4-5 in first place.
Right. Sometimes it's just better be lucky than good.
Right.
You know, you just.
And you know, and at this point, the New Orleans Saints, they would get a home game. You win that division, they could win an 8-8 record.
Who dat Saints?
You know, they get on a roll, they win that home game. You never know.
Just getting in, it's half the battle.
A few years ago, remember Pete, that massive run that Marshawn Lynch had against the Saints.
Right.
I want to say that the Saints were, I mean, the Seahawks were 7-9.
You're right.
Yeah, there's one year they got in with a losing
Right.
record, which is just unheard of.
Yep, happens. Might happen this year, right there. Those Saints.
You never know. But some interesting games, obviously, the Patriots and the Colts this week.
You'd have to say that's the marquee game, right?
The Patriots.
Sunday night?
It is a Sunday night game.
In Indy.
In Indy, both teams coming off the bye week. Indy had a big hiccup in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And then they come back and
that's when you thought Pittsburgh was the real deal.
Right.
Beating Indy.
Yeah. And then they get back on track. So
hard to figure. I mean, outside of that loss to Pittsburgh, they look like a team that's a potential Super Bowl
right.
contender, really.
Yeah.
But hey, teams have off weeks. Sometimes you just that must have been in Pittsburgh, or was that?
No, the game was in
It
Pittsburgh.
was in Pittsburgh. So sometimes that home field can make a little difference. Henceforth, why these teams battle to have it.
Right.
So,
And then then the Colts do bounce back the following week. They are they beat up on the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Looked very good doing that.
Giants haven't really
No, the Giants have not impressed.
the toughest team to beat this year.
Yeah. So
Tom Coughlin, he's going to have a meltdown. The end might be near.
Yeah. And they've had massive injuries at the running back position.
One firing so far
In football. Yeah, it was just
Oakland?
in Oakland.
Oakland. So who's next?
Yeah, it's everyone's talking like Rex Ryan. I mean, that's
They're
not
saying
going to
like
save it.
Rex might have saved his job with the win, but who knows?
Yeah.
Chicago Bears. Trust me.
Yeah. Trestman really just started there. But you know what? They
They
have,
seem like they've regressed.
Yeah, they have more than just, and it's, a lot. It starts at the quarterback position. I know if Rich was here, he'd be talking about a couple of the problems that he has.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but I'm sure there's a lot of fingers pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
And tongues wagging too.
Yeah, it's one thing. He's got the weapons too. That's the thing. Which is, he's got Jeffries. He's got Marshall.
He's frustrated
Forte.
too, but he's just one of those guys. He just, for reasons we've mentioned before, he just sits there. He seems like he's got the pout on and he's finger pointing and he's So I don't know. Maybe his, I don't know. People, how marketable is he?
I don't know. The thing is, they've invested a lot of money.
Right. Who wants to pay him that kind of dough?
I mean, are the Bears prepared to eat that contract? I don't know at this point.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes guys just lose it. Stay too long at the fair.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, but the Bears definitely in trouble. Going backwards does not look like any type of glimmer of hope for them.
At Minnesota this week.
The Packers host Minnesota. No, the Eagles. The Bears. The Bears play the Minnesota Vikings.
Right, so that could be not a great game, but a couple of teams. Like Minnesota. What's the spread on that game? That's a tempting game. Chicago by 3.
Yeah,
at Chicago.
Yeah, the game's at Chicago. Chicago's been on the road for a little bit. I don't know if I'd be interested in
Minnesota's not
game.
really a powerhouse.
No,
right
you
now.
don't know about that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay away from that.
Eagles put on a show this week on Monday Night Football, or was that just Carolina? Carolina's offensive line
Sanchez.
looks terrible.
Sanchez,
over 300 yards passing.
Carolina does look terrible, but another big game here, along with Arizona, Detroit. We haven't really talked about.
Yeah.
Take me back there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Detroit going to Arizona. We're talking about an 8-1 team and a 7-2 team.
So
could go a long way, maybe, for determining home field in the NFC.
Right. Well, like we talked about, Arizona with the change of quarterback. Detroit, geez, I'm still surprised they're 7-2. They haven't really. They've done a lot of it without Megatron, who didn't look totally Megatron last week.
No, he had missed 5 weeks, so they wanted to rest him, and certainly, they go on that London trip. They get that miracle win against Atlanta.
Yeah.
Obviously, they sit out Bush, they sit out Calvin Johnson. That one extra week going into the bye week,
right.
Probably a smart move. And to be 7-2, bye week
Definitely.
behind you, you get healthy.
Right.
Probably the right move.
Well, back to Philadelphia running it up, the game with Green Bay, at Green Bay, 5.5. I think one of the three big games.
Yeah.
With the Pats, with Arizona.
Yeah.
I think that game, Philly, what are they, 7-2?
Philly is in 7-2.
7-2. Green Bay?
Division. Green Bay is...
Not as good. What are they, 5-3?
No, Green Bay is
6-3.
6.
You got the eyes.
Got the Cheetahs.
You got the Cheetahs? I'll start asking these tough questions.
No, Green Bay is at 6-3.
All right, so a couple of, I would say those three games have 6 contenders in them.
Yeah.
Which is going to be some good watching.
Yeah, this should be definitely some good games there.
Green Bay starting to get it going.
They look, offensively and even defensively, they were making
Yeah.
some plays. Of course, the Bears probably making
Yeah,
it easy
Clay
for
Matthews,
them.
though, he's a force. So they have a primetime guy. Not like one of the league's best, but every once in a while they show up.
Yeah, and even though the Jets did get their win, they're sitting there watching Mark Sanchez on Monday Night Football go for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. And
Got to be happy for Mark Sanchez. I always liked Mark.
he was actually, literally the butt of a lot of jokes after
Sure.
that Thanksgiving night butt fumble, one of the
Well,
classic plays of all time.
Like we talked about earlier, sometimes when it's the going gets rough, the fingers are going to point, whether it's Jay Cutler or Mark
Right.
Sanchez in New York.
It's the quarterback.
yeah.
You get all the credit, but you get all the blame.
Right, sure. You're the P guy.
It's part of the deal. One of the scary stats, I guess you could say, coming into this, Tom Brady's record, 3-11 when they're playing on the road against teams with a winning record. So and again, you don't know. It's the team. It's not necessarily always just the quarterback.
Tells you right. I mean, they're playing teams with winning records, so they got to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he stinks. It means
the competition's
you're
getting
gonna
a
lose
little
once.
bit
Even
better.
Tom Brady loses once in a while.
Yeah.
But boy, that's a tough one. That's a 3-point. That reeks push to me. Just I could see the score. I could see Indy by 3 on a field goal.
Right.
I could see these teams going down
Sure,
to
yeah.
overtime and a field
Yeah,
goal.
this is not going to be, I don't think, that Denver Broncos at Foxborough scenario. I think this is going to be a very, especially both teams coming off the bye weeks. And we know what Belichick can do coming off a bye week, planning for,
sure.
that type of game. So
I think it's a nice little
it should be a good one.
thing with Brady, kind of the aging superstar.
Right, and Andrew Luck.
No disrespect,
Yeah.
but Andrew Luck, 10 years younger anyway?
Sure, oh yeah.
And I'm not sure that Tom Brady was his idol growing up, but it's kind of like the next wave of great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The guy that's Brady's kind of passing one of several torches
Sure.
that will be passed from a great quarterback to an up-and-coming quarterback.
Yeah, Andrew Luck, you got to, the guy has just been nothing but a class act. And
Like I was saying to Marty before, I didn't believe the hype at first when I was watching him, but the more and more I watch him, just how do they say, the subtle nuances of his game. The guy's a total player. Just smart, tough, does it all.
and the guy's a total leader.
Not like a big ego. He's a very coachable guy. He seems like he fires the players up, but he's got it in perspective. Player makes a bad move, he'll go over and put his arm around him, tell him to shake it off, he'll go back to him.
Yeah.
Class act. Very impressed.
Yeah, and even just that play, even though they got killed in that Pittsburgh game, gets knocked down, still has the presence of mind to try to throw it out of the pocket.
Yeah, he's probably in 2 or 3 years might be the best. Rodgers, you got to say he's got another 5 years.
Couple of years, yes.
But
So
he's right up there.
It's eventually just going to be an Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers league. That's how it's
Cam
going
Newton
on.
keeps going like he's going. He might not be around.
I don't know if that type of quarterback that runs first.
It always happens.
And then the offensive line is really in
It's
trouble.
inevitable. Look at RG3. We've talked about all these guys. The careers are definitely shorter.
Russell Wilson will do that, but he'll do it like.
But sooner or later,
doesn't
he's still going to
challenge.
get his
He'll get
bell
out of
rung.
bounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's. I'm not saying he's
gonna
been
get
lucky. He's elusive and he seems to slide. And he's cautious, and he just hasn't really taken a beating like some of these other. Cam Newton was. I love the guy. He's almost fearless. Like he's gonna run into like
he's
300
a much
pound
bigger
guys.
he's a much bigger player than RG3.
He subjected himself to it.
Yeah.
He took the challenge. So, it's going to weigh you down though.
Well, anyway, let's take a look at the standings. Pete will like to look at this. Me, not so much. Definitely Rich, not at all. Rich does not. Rich 0 for 3 this week. Tough one. I go 2 for 3 and lose ground.
It's all right. We can do that every week.
So
it's only for a few more weeks.
3 for 3. Nice week.
Yeah, hey, just trying to ride the wave.
Ride the wave.
I feel like Spicoli a little bit. Come in.
Tasty
I don't even
waves
look
and
at it till I get
and
here.
a cool breeze.
I've
That's all I
circled
need.
3 that I like the best.
Rich Brockway is called in his picks. He is back on that Cleveland Browns bandwagon.
He is.
He likes the Brownies this week. Cleveland is at home hosting Houston. I think Houston coming off a bye week. Cleveland looked good on Thursday, that extra day of rest, extra couple days of rest. So he likes Cleveland home, give away the 3 in that one.
They almost look like a playoff contender.
Yeah.
They look like a playoff contender.
They look good. They're currently leading that division mathematically. He likes the Saints this week to bounce back at home, give away the 7 points against Cincinnati, who looked terrible on last Thursday night. Right. Getting that same game against the Browns.
The fallout continues?
I think so.
Possible.
That's how he's looking at it. And he likes the Arizona Cardinals to keep it rolling.
Wow.
Even without Carson Palmer.
He didn't have like a camera looking at my picks, does he?
I don't know, but he likes the Cardinals to keep it going against Detroit. Detroit ekes out one, but Detroit is 7-2, so kind of impressive there.
That's like an interesting line, though, isn't it? 2 points.
Yeah.
It's like pick me because a field goal wins.
Yeah.
It's like
take it Arizona.
I don't want to say it's a sucker's bet,
yeah.
but it's, it sucked me in because I'm going to take Arizona too.
Arizona, I get sucked in with that Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so I'm going to also I'm also going to who dat. I'm going to go down to Bourbon Street one more time.
One more time on the Saints.
Let me know who has the keys. So I'm going to take the Saints. Yep. I think the teams are going in opposite directions. Cincy look really bad. New Orleans lost, but they
had their chances.
Yeah, they had their chances in the home.
A pass interference play away from winning that game.
Right. So and I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with Aaron Rodgers, my man, the Green Bay Packers. I think that's an interesting game. I think Philly's won a lot of close games, but if this game stays close, I think Green Bay is going to smoke them down the stretch.
Yeah, I think so. I think Philly. Actually, I agree with all those picks, but I am going to go with the Saints this week. I think the Saints at home. They know that. They got to win the home games.
Right.
And Cincinnati is that bad, I think. So give away the 7 in that one. I like the Saints. I think a team that's got to prove something, especially on the road, is the Seahawks. And I think the Seahawks, they have never really played well historically in Arrowhead Stadium, but a 1.5. I like the Seahawks on the road. They have to come up with a road win eventually.
Yep, they could. That could be a good game. They could definitely win that game because I don't think Kansas City is really a primetime team.
No, I mean they roughed it out, played a nice road game to beat Buffalo.
They're competitive.
I think I'm going to be a homer on this one. I'm going to take the Patriots.
Wow.
Coming off the bye week, the Patriots have never won at that Lucas Oil Stadium. They're 0-2, but the Patriots coming off the bye week, Gronk is a force. I don't think the Colts have the answer to stop that. So take the 3
I
points
like that pick.
And the Patriots this week.
I can root for that pick.
I think we all could.
All right, that sounds good.
So anyway, quick half hour. I want to thank Marty for calling all the shots. Pete, nice solo show. And for Rich Brockway, who's not here, hopefully we'll all be back together for our pre-Thanksgiving, week before Thanksgiving show. So we'll see you next week with a new show. Enjoy that Patriots-Colts game Sunday night, and we'll see you next week with a new show. See you later.
Thanks for watching.